my wife, cheated while I worked 80 hours a week to pay off her debt. So I took the house, the car, and left her with nothing. I'm a 34-year-old guy, and for the longest time, I genuinely believed I married the sweetest woman alive. Her name is Kayla. We met at a mutual friend's housewarming party, and I swear, the second she laughed at my terrible joke about pineapple pizza, I was done for. She had this softness in her eyes, a kind of warmth that felt like home. She told me early on she was recovering from a rough patch, dropped out of grad school, buried in student loans, and her online skincare business had tanked during the pandemic. She called herself damaged good, but all I saw was someone strong enough to start over. There were signs, little ones at first. Her obsession with luxury, name-brand everything, impulsive Amazon buys, spa memberships she needed for her anxiety. I shrugged it off. I told myself I could handle it. Fix it. Savor. That's what love does, right? So I started working more. Way more. I picked up double shifts, night shifts, weekends. I told her it was temporary, that we'd dig ourselves out together. She kissed my forehead and called me her hero. I ate that up like a fool. Soon I was doing 70 to 80 hours a week. My friends stopped inviting me out. I missed my brother's engagement party. My mum said I looked pale on our last Zoom call. But every time I came home to Kayla, smiling in her silk robe, candles lit, glass of wine in hand, it felt worth it, even when she started sleeping in more. Even when I saw unopened job applications on her desk, I figured maybe she just needed time. Healing takes time, right? I kept going. I kept grinding. I kept bleeding myself dry for us, and she let me. And that's what still haunts me. 6 months into our marriage, Kayla broke down crying one night after dinner. I had just come home from a 14-hour shift, still in my scrubs, and she was sitting on the couch with a stack of bills in her lap, student loans, credit cards, an unpaid dentist visit from 2 years ago. I can't breathe, she whispered. It's like I'm drowning. So I did what any hero would do. I stepped in. I consolidated everything under my name. I had decent credit, stable income. The bank approved it fast. She cried again, this time out of joy, and said I was the only person who had ever believed in her. A month later, we put a down payment on a modest 3-bedroom house just outside the city. I paid it from my savings. She said she finally felt stable. I believed her. I bought her a car, a used Lexus she picked out herself, because she said taking the bus to campus was affecting her anxiety. She promised she'd be registering for classes again soon. She never did. Instead, she started sleeping in till noon and spending hours watching YouTube vlogs about manifesting wealth and high vibrational living. Her social media turned into a stream of aesthetic posts, bath bombs, wine glasses, crystals. I'd come home and she'd be soaking in the tub with a $60 face mask while I microwaved leftovers for dinner. Self-care, she'd say, when I looked at the receipts. I'm just trying to heal. Meanwhile, the bills kept stacking. She needed a new iPad for her, future classes, a standing desk, a meal subscription to save time and energy. I picked up weekend shifts and night coverage. I told myself it was just a phase, that she'd get better, but the harder I worked, the colder she became, and part of me started to wonder if maybe I was the only one fighting for us. It started with the dishes. I came home after a double shift, barely able to keep my eyes open, and she was pacing the kitchen, arms crossed, glaring at the sink. 2 bowls, 1 pan. I didn't even have the energy to speak before she snapped. Is it so hard to clean up after yourself? I'm not your maid, you know. I blinked at her. I've been gone 14 hours. She knew that. But instead of arguing, I apologized, told her I'd do better. She rolled her eyes and stormed off. That week, it was the laundry. And the next, a passive-aggressive rant about how I never prioritize her anymore. And every fight ended with the same sentence. You're never really here. Emotionally, maybe she was right. I was numb, exhausted, trying to stay awake long enough to eat, sleep, and do it all again the next day. But I thought she understood. I thought we were a team, so I tried. I booked a surprise dinner at the place where we had our first date. I got off work early, shaved, changed into something decent. She showed up 25 minutes late, barely touched her food, and scrolled through her phone under the table. That was the first time I noticed it had a passcode. We never had secrets before. Not like that. I asked casually about it that night, just joking, but she got defensive. Said she had a right to privacy, then accused me of being controlling. I laughed it off. Told myself I was overthinking, that I hadn't been affectionate lately, that maybe she just needed more effort from me. I even Googled how to be more romantic when you're exhausted, because somehow I still thought the problem was me. I came home early on a Tuesday. It was rare. A patient cancelled last minute, so I wrapped up my shift 3 hours ahead of schedule. I thought I'd surprise Kayla with lunch, maybe catch a movie if she was in the mood. But when I opened the front door, I heard her laughing, high-pitched, flirty, not the kind of laugh she used with me anymore. Then silence, like someone hit mute. I walked in, and she was sitting on the couch with her phone face down. She looked startled. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "Who are you talking to?" She hesitated just for a second and then said, "My cousin from Florida. You haven't met him?" I nodded, though something in her voice didn't sit right. It had that overly sweet, fake calm she used when she was hiding something. Still, I let it go. The next day, I saw a receipt poking out from her purse while grabbing my wallet. It was for a couple's massage. On a weekday, I'd worked a 16-hour shift. My name wasn't on it. When I asked about it, she scoffed. Oh my God, it was for me and my mom. They had a duo deal. Chill out. She even showed me a blurry selfie of her and her mom in robes. It looked legit. But why didn't she tell me about it before? Why hide it? Still, I apologized. Said I was stressed and didn't mean to accuse her. She sighed, kissed my forehead, and told me to get some sleep. But later that week, while doing laundry, I heard her phone buzz with a voicemail. She must have forgotten to delete it. I hit play. A man's voice came through, soft and teasing. "Miss you already, baby." "Same time next week?" My chest tightened. My mouth went dry, but I told myself, maybe he dialed the wrong number. Maybe it was. Nothing. After that voicemail, something inside me shifted. I stopped making excuses. I stopped defending her in my head. I just started watching. I bought a cheap GPS tracker online and tucked it under her back bumper when she went to visit her aunt one afternoon. It synced to an app on my phone. Every time she left the house, I logged it. At first, it was errands, yoga classes, the usual. But then a pattern emerged. Every Wednesday and Friday around 11 a.m., she drove to the same high-rise condo downtown. Not a friend's place. Not a family member's. I checked the address. It belonged to a man named Marcus, a name I'd never heard her mention once. That Friday, I called in sick. Sat in my car 2 blocks away with a coffee and a twisted gut. She pulled up at 11:07 wearing lipstick. She rang the buzzer, and he came down to meet her. Tall, dressed like he walked off a modeling set. He pulled her in by the waist and kissed her, right there on the sidewalk. She didn't flinch, didn't look over her shoulder, just melted into him like they'd done it 100 times before. I didn't move, didn't cry, didn't scream. I just picked up my phone, zoomed in, and took 3 photos. Then one of their hands intertwined as they walked inside. I waited until the door shut behind them before I finally exhaled. I didn't go home. I drove around for hours, thinking. Not about leaving, not about confronting, but about how. I realized then I wasn't going to be the fool who exploded in anger and got nothing. I was going to be the quiet husband she thought was blind until it was too late. And from that day on, I started planning. From the outside, nothing changed. I still kissed her cheek in the mornings, still cooked dinner when I could, still nodded and smiled when she told me she was going out with the girls, but inside I was rotting. I started documenting everything. Every call on the phone bill, every late-night emergency target run, every charge to our shared credit card, Uber rides to the same condo downtown, flowers that never arrived at our house, dinners for two. I started screen recording her phone when she left it unlocked and slipped into the shower. Texts with hearts. Messages that ended in, "Can't wait to see you again." The betrayal was no longer a theory. It was printed, dated, filed. She grew careless, bold. She stopped pretending. She'd come home at 2 a.m. smelling like cologne and wine, humming to herself like a teenager sneaking in from prom. Once I heard her giggling on the phone in the hallway. When I walked out, she didn't even lower her voice, just turned her back and kept laughing. I moved to the couch. She didn't ask why. That silence became the new normal. She was never home before midnight, and I stopped pretending to wait up. But every night, I'd sit with my laptop, filing things into folders marked evidence, expenses, infidelity. I stopped crying, stopped feeling. I started grinding my teeth in my sleep. My chest felt tight all the time. The doctor said it was stress. No kidding, but the pain was no longer heartbreak. It was quiet rage. I started meeting with a lawyer during my lunch breaks. Told him everything, showed him everything. He said I had a case for everything: infidelity, financial abuse, even emotional abandonment. Smiled for the first time in weeks, because she thought I was still broken, but I was sharpening my edges in silence. She thought I was still asleep. That's the only reason she left her laptop open one night. While she took a bath, Messenger still logged in. I shouldn't have looked. But I did. And that's when I saw the message. Once Marcus gets that promotion, I'm gone. I'll let the loser keep the couch. I stared at those words like they were written in blood. The next morning, I called my lawyer. We had already been working on contingencies, but that message? That changed the timeline. We moved fast. He found a clause buried in the home contract Kayla had never read, something about survivorship rights and primary equity. With her signature and a quick refinance, the house was legally and fully mine. She hadn't noticed a thing. Next was the car. I refinanced it solo, used part of my emergency savings to pay off her portion, and put the title in my name. She thought it was still our car. Let her. Then came the bank. I opened a new account under a business name I'd been sitting on for years. Every week I started diverting small chunks of my paycheck, nothing too noticeable, just enough to prepare. Meanwhile, Kayla kept spending. New handbags, girls' trips, a wine subscription. She posted on Instagram like she was some lifestyle influencer, hashtagging Daniel's soft life while I worked 70-hour weeks. She never questioned the bills, never asked why the savings account stopped growing. She was too busy living in fantasy, and the whole time I smiled, kissed her on the forehead when I left for work. She didn't suspect a thing, because when you're used to someone sacrificing everything for you, you never think they're quietly building the exit behind your back. It was a Thursday night. I had just pulled into the driveway after a back-to-back shift, sore, hungry, and running on 4 hours of sleep. The house was dark except for the dim light from Kayla's home office upstairs. Her car was already parked out front, so I figured she was on another one of her late Zooms with friends. I sat in my car for a second, finishing the last sip of cold gas station coffee. When I saw her silhouette walk past the window, phone pressed to her ear. And then I heard her laugh. That laugh, the one that used to be mine. I cracked my window just a bit, and her voice drifted out through the open upstairs window. "No, trust me," she said. "I hate coming back here. It's like living with a ghost. He barely speaks. Just works, eats, sleeps. It's sad." Then after a pause, "I feel trapped with a broke, boring husband." That line punched a hole in my chest. After everything, every night shift, every bill I paid, every time I blamed myself instead of her, I was just boring to her. A ghost.
A joke. I didn't go inside. I just sat there in the driver's seat, gripping the wheel like it could hold me together.
My hands were shaking.
I didn't even realize the tears had started until they hit my collarbone, hot and bitter. I hadn't cried in years. Not when my dad died. Not when my back gave out from overworking, but that night. I broke the kind of break that doesn't come with noise.
Just stillness. An emptiness so heavy it sinks into your bones, but in that stillness,
Something solidified. I
wasn't going to fight for her anymore. Was going to fight for me. I booked the reservation at the same restaurant where I proposed. White tablecloths, candlelight, live piano in the corner.
I even requested the same booth, Kayla squealed when I told her.
Are we celebrating something? She asked, grinning. I shrugged and said, You'll see. She spent 3 hours getting ready. Came down the stairs in a red dress I hadn't seen in years, lips painted to match, heels clicking like she was walking into victory. She kissed my cheek before we left. You're finally making time for us, she whispered. She thought I was crawling back. She thought this was a peace offering. We ordered drinks. I even toasted to new beginnings. Her smile lit up the whole room. Then I reached into my jacket pocket and slid the envelope across the table. What's this? She asked, still smirking. Open it, I said. The second she saw the word divorce, her face crumpled. The smirk vanished. Her hands trembled as she scanned the pages. You're joking, she said. This is some kind of sick joke. No, I replied, calm as ever.
I'm done being your safety net, she snapped, loud. You think you can just walk away?
You think I'll let you take everything?
I'll get the house, the car, everything. I cut her off with a single line. You already have nothing. Her mouth opened, then shut. I leaned in, voice low.
The house? In my name, the car.
Mine too. That savings account you drained? I moved it 6 months ago. All those Uber charges to Marcus's place.
Got them printed out for the judge. She went pale. The waiter froze halfway toward our table, then slowly backed away. And I sat there, watching her spiral, not with anger, but with peace. She moved out 3 days after the dinner. Didn't even pack everything, just grabbed what she could fit in 2 suitcases and slammed the door behind her. I heard the tires screech as her Uber peeled out of the driveway.
She didn't say goodbye.
Just rage and silence. I later found out she moved in with Marcus. It didn't last. 2 weeks later, I got a message from an unknown number. Hey!
Can we talk?
I didn't reply. Then came the knock on my door. Middle of the afternoon, sun glaring through the blinds.
I peeked out. It was her, hair tied back, no makeup.
Same hoodie she used to wear when she had the flu. I didn't answer. She knocked again, then again, then sat down on the steps. 15 minutes later, she was gone. That night, I blocked her on everything. No messages, no calls, no access. 2 days after that, her best friend, one of the loudest defenders of her right to happiness, unfollowed her and DM'd me. She apologized, said she had no idea what I'd been going through. A week later, Kayla's mum called, left a voicemail through tears. I'm sorry. We were wrong about you. We didn't see her clearly.
Not until now. I didn't respond. I wasn't angry anymore. Just
quiet. The house was mine now. The bed was mine. The car, the bills, the peace, mine, and the silence. It was finally honest. No more pretending. No more walking on eggshells. No more waiting up at night. I wasn't healed, but I was free. 2 months after the divorce was finalized, I booked a trip. Just me.
no destination with meaning, no packed itinerary.
Just a quiet cabin up north, surrounded by pine trees and silence.
I left my phone off for 3 days.
I sat by the lake with a cup of coffee every morning and listened to birds instead of excuses. For the first time in years, I wasn't responsible for anyone's chaos but my own. When I came back,
I started therapy. I walked in thinking I just needed help getting over it. What I got was a mirror held up to years of patterns I didn't know I'd been living.
narcissistic abuse, financial manipulation, guilt cycles, self-abandonment disguised as love. I realized I hadn't been Kayla's husband. I'd been her lifeline, and she never once tried to swim. I started running again. Nothing intense, just a mile every morning, then two. I picked up painting, something I hadn't touched since college. My old friends started reaching out after hearing what happened. I met up with them slowly, awkward at first, like learning how to be a person again. But it felt good, real. Healing wasn't loud. It wasn't cinematic. It was small, quiet, a bunch of tiny, hard choices repeated daily. I stopped blaming myself. Stopped wondering what I could have done differently. Because the truth hit me one morning, mid-jog, as the sun came up over the trees and lit the whole street gold. I didn't lose her. I escaped her. And in that moment,
I didn't just feel free, I felt proud. It was almost a year later when I got the message. I didn't recognize the number at first.
But the name that followed stopped me cold. Marcus, the man she left me for. He said he found my number through mutual contacts. Said he didn't know where else to turn. He told me she drained his savings, took thousands out of his account to start a business, and then ghosted him when he confronted her. He's not even sure where she is now. He heard she's been couch surfing between friends, burning every bridge one by one. She told him I was abusive, told him I never supported her. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. That chapter was over. But later that night, I sat down with a pen and paper and wrote her a letter, not to send, just to say what I needed to say. You broke a man who would have died for you, who gave you everything, who believed your pain and made it his purpose. And when you drained him dry, you laughed. You looked at him like he was weak, but that man didn't die. He rebuilt, stronger, sharper, quieter. You didn't destroy me. You revealed me. I folded the letter and tucked it in the back of a drawer.
Never touched it again. Now my house is full of light.
I play old records while cooking. I light candles for no reason. I paint in the evenings with the windows open, letting in the breeze, and when people ask what happened, I just smile because I finally understand something I wish I had known years ago. Protect your peace. No one else will. The end.